Yep, you already know it. Hey, y'all. It's Summer Chrissiana, and welcome back to another episode of More Than a Creator. So, on this platform, this is where I just talk to individuals about getting into the media and entertainment industry. I actually interview people that are in the industry. I talk to them, hey, how you doing? About how they're established, how they're balancing everything. So, if you're like a author, an artist, a rapper, a dancer, anything like that. I love it. Thank y'all. Anything like that, just come on the show, promote your business. We're here to talk, teach, learn, educate, converse, and network with one another. So as we wait for Miss Dr. Kyra Ofuani, we're going to give it a few minutes, y'all. And actually, I was reading up on her. She has a lot going on. Y'all know I have a history of being in pageants. So I'm super excited to see what she has to say about her pageant journey. We're going to brush up on a little bit of how being in pageantry is a little bit controversial. Of course, I'm on the good side. I like pageants, so I'm standing on the good side. But of course, we're going to talk about how pageants are a little bit controversial as well. And she just hopped on, y'all. We'll talk about a little bit about how pageants are a little controversial as far as criticizing and things like that. We'll talk about how she's an entrepreneur, having her legally black consulting firm. I'm just so excited to hop on and speak with her. Hold on, y'all. Let me see. Let me send her a request real quick. And when she comes on, I need a big warm welcome, okay? Make her feel loved, y'all. Drop some comments in the chat. Drop some hearts, some emojis. Here we go. How you doing?
Good. How are you? How are
I'm
you?
pretty good. I'm so glad you hopped on with us. How your day been going so far?
It's been going
Okay.
good. Just another day of working and figuring out. I'm in my last trimester of pregnancy, so a lot of my day these last couple weeks have just been like preparing for the baby and wrapping up all my work affairs. So
Wow.
that's usually how my day has been going so far.
Super excited. And is this your first child?
Yes,
How do
it
you
is.
feel?
I feel good. I feel like I'm prepared for I use this kind of how I just do my regular life as far as just like really focusing in studying, trying to make sure I'm disciplined. So I've treated it like a test, like the whole pregnancy. So I do feel like I'm prepared and ready for the labor.
Cool. So I gave them a little intro about you, but I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself as well because I know I might have missed a few things and left some stuff out. So tell me a little bit about you. Who are you?
Okay. I am Kyra Ofuani. I am I don't like to use the labels of what I do for a career or just like it's an intricate question people ask you who you are, but I just always like to say like I'm a child of God. I am just a vessel that is being used for my assignments for God and to bring awareness to all the things that He has asked me to bring. So whether that's like through my legal career or pageantry or through my family, I try to stay on mission and stay with the assignment that's there.
Nice. So I did talk to them a little bit about your pageantry, but I noticed that you're a wife, you're an author, you have your business Freedom of Faith Food Bank. What came first?
Okay, so my business came first.
Okay.
I guess I would say with all of those things that you listed. So prior to going to law school, me and a couple of my friends started our first business called Select Free Consulting, where we consulted nonprofits on how to start form their business and things of that nature. So my business partner and I, and Siani, we all went and got our masters in nonprofit management together. That's how we met. And then afterwards, we started that firm. And so transitioning while I was in law school, that's when I met my husband. And when we decided to do our business together as well. So we combined the businesses and started Legally Black, where we focus on both for-profit and nonprofit businesses, their legal matters. So whether we're contracting for them, representing them, writing grants so that we're helping those businesses get funding, credit management, things like that, all of the things that you will need to take your business to the next level. That's where that started. The goal was that my husband's a couple years older than me. So the goal was that the business could get stable while I'm finishing law school, because he had already finished law school, so that once I was done, that I could just go right into our business and not have to go into a firm and things like that. And so that's how that journey started. And then I did pageantry a little bit prior to now, but while I was in school, I started to kind of get into my health journey and learning about health disparities, health justice, and things of that nature. And as I was getting deeper into community service and bringing awareness, I was just thinking of different ways that I can bring more light to the cause. And so I had a friend suggest the Miss Black USA pageant, and so I was like, like, I don't know, like, because I was in law school, so I'm kind of head focused, head in, like, I don't know if I can do a pageant now. But I was like, you know what, I want to get something that helps me bring my confidence back, that I can get back used to being on stage, because we're coming out of COVID. So I was like a COVID law school student, so I'm just so used to being on a computer, not like being with people as much. So I'm like, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to get back into the real world. So I applied for that pageant, and I ended up getting Miss Black Texas USA. And so that kind of started my journey of pageantry and things like that. And fast forward to now, I had such a good experience that I was introduced to the Miss Black International Ambassador categories. And so that's kind of how I transitioned to now representing Georgia, because we moved to Georgia after I finished school.
Awesome. That's amazing. So your first pageant, and you won a title.
Yeah.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about how that was. Like, what kind of categories were you entered in? Because it's your first time. So what were you expecting? Did you study anything? How did that work out for you?
So I did like smaller pageants when I was younger. Like in my town, we had like Little Miss Lighthouse, and then I did the Miss Phi Beta Sigma pageant in college. So that was like the little experience that I had, but it wasn't on a bigger scale. So I honestly reached out to different coaches that were in Houston, because I was in Houston at the time, just literally just studying and watching pageants, reading pageant books, like things like that. And we had categories such as talent, question and answer, community service, evening gown, things of that nature. And because like I'm a dancer, because I'm a dancer, I was just like, you know what? I already know how to walk. I know how to talk to people and do the public speaking, the community service, things like that. Those things kind of came natural to me because I was doing it in my regular life. It was more so just being put on the spot to get those questions out, or being able to just talk to strangers all the time and having that comfortability. It definitely boosts my confidence that way. So it was a work in progress over the year. Like over the year, I could see how my speech got better, how I was more comfortable with people over the time, and then performing as well. Because even though I performed, I wasn't performing in competition form. I was just like performing at a game or performing with a team. Like it was more fun. And so I definitely got help from the community. A lot of people sponsored teaching me how to walk or working on my talent with me and things like that. So it was great.
Nice. So what does that title entail for you? Like, what are your responsibilities being former Miss Black Texas USA and now Mrs. Black North Georgia International Ambassador?
Yes, so my main duty is to represent the organization in a capacity where we are being change agents. And so that's up to me how I believe that a change agent is portrayed into the world, since we are on an international basis. And for me, I chose health, environment, and food justice as how I can be a change agent into our society. So that's my main duty. And then also just to be an encouragement to women and families. I am in the Mrs. category. So we have the Miss Teen, we have the MIS, the MS, and the MRS. And so because I'm married, I'm in the MRS category. And so my duties are a little bit different. I'm focusing on the Black family and how we can promote that more than just only focusing on Black women. And so not only have I been focusing on what change agent means to me, but how I can correlate that into a family stance, and then also encourage women that have families that they can still pursue their assignment and their call as well.
That's beautiful. Are you familiar with the show Toddlers and Tiaras?
I'm not.
Okay.
I should look into it. Is it? I feel like I've heard something similar. Is that on Lifetime? It was like a Lifetime type of show. I don't know. That's what it sounded like to me.
Like Lifetime and TLC.
Okay,
so
yeah.
You probably seen it before. It was like the little girls and they were in beauty pageants, and
Mhm.
over time they show like the process and stuff about it.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I just had your thoughts on that because they did have like a little bit of criticism, but with you coming from the pageant background, what are your thoughts on like how, of course, everyone has something to say about anything, but what are your thoughts about like children being in pageants?
Yeah, that's a great question because especially with me getting ready to have a child, people have asked me like, okay, because we don't know the gender, we're doing a surprise at birth. So people have been like, oh, like if you have a girl, are you going to put her in pageants and things like that? I would say every child is different. So it depends type of question, right? So what I love about Black pageantry is that there are no, it's diverse. So there's no like weight requirement per se or hair requirement, looks, things like that. We take women of all shapes, sizes, looks, things of that nature. If you are just in the regular pageant categories, I hate to just say like the white pageants, but like kind of like the major platform pageantries like the Miss Americas or the Miss USAs, which are generally centered around a more Caucasian audience, there are stricter rules. You have to be a certain way because they have like the swimsuit category, or you have to have your hair a certain way. So usually people have more makeup in those pageants, weave, things like that. So it really depends on what you're putting your child into. So if you're putting your child into a pageant organization that has stricter requirements when it comes to their looks, you have to be intentional about building the confidence for your child, making sure, especially if you're Black, making sure that your child loves who they are, their skin, not getting them so accustomed to having that on stage look, because then kids grow up feeling like they're only pretty if they have makeup, they're only pretty if they have weave in their hair, if they're dolled up and things like that. So it's really a fine line when you are putting your child into a beauty world where they're being judged regularly, that can do something on your child's mental. So I definitely would encourage people to just do their research on the organization, because I think that plays a huge part in it. So for me, if I do have a girl and she wants to be into pageantry because I'm in it, I'll be more intentional about having my child be more natural in there, like wearing her natural hair, maybe wearing not as much makeup, or wearing more authentic African clothing and things like that, so that she is true to who she is and she's not feeling like beauty is defined in one definition.
That's a great point. You said you're doing a surprise gender reveal?
Yes. So when I have the baby, that's when we'll find out the gender, basically.
By that, that's different.
Yes, girl, we took it old school.
Cool. So I noticed that I was looking at your profile. You just had your baby shower as well, correct?
I did.
So with you having your baby shower and there's like no particular gender to purchase for, did your gifts, how did they work those out?
So we got everything gender neutral. We did a safari theme. And so mainly like olive greens, nudes, whites, blacks, things like that. So our baby got pretty much all gender neutral things. And we're cool with that.
Good. Cool. So how did you prepare for your baby shower?
As far as the gift wise, planning wise,
yes. Like with you having a busy schedule with running your businesses and being with your titles as well, how did you plan your baby shower? How was that?
Yeah, I got a lot of help from my family. So my sister essentially planned the whole thing. And I gave her my vision, and my sister and my mom planned it together. But my sister has an event planning business called Toys Creations. And so she does the decorations, the arches. She makes like have you ever seen like when people have those big welcome signs or like the mats and stuff in front of their houses that have all that? She makes all those things. She'll bring all the stuff to your kids' birthday parties, all of that. So I really relied on her for most of it. I gave her the vision and she was like, just let me do this for you. So I was like, okay, you got it. So that was really mainly the only thing I did was create my outline, because I'm a Google Drive person. So I made my baby shower Google Drive, put all my Pinterest pictures in there of what I wanted it to look like, what my budget was, what the menu needed to be like, and all of that. And then she just brought the vision to life. And so my husband and I are vegan. So we wanted to have a vegan baby shower so that our friends and family could have a day in the life of us. They could see how, if they are to ever watch our child, this is how we would want our child to eat. These are the type of things we want you to teach our child if they're ever in your care, and things like that. And so my family did a really good job on executing what we requested.
Good. So what type of food was there if you're doing the whole vegan experience? I think that's beautiful, just to share, like, have like that one day where they do something different and see a new light and new opening. Yeah. So
exactly. So we had falafel, we did fried mushrooms, fried zucchini. We had like a chickpea salad type of ordeal. We did a Mediterranean pasta, rice, quinoas, and then like fruits and vegetables, things like that. We had like fresh juices, things of that nature. I'm probably missing some things, but that was like pretty much the gist of it. The main things that I wanted people to have as like their meat supplement was the falafel and the fried mushrooms. So they did really good. We did like a buffalo style fried mushroom thing, and everyone loved that. And then the falafel, of course, like I guess people don't eat falafel as much, maybe because I eat it all the time. I just assumed people did. But that was the first time a lot of my family had falafel, and they were like, "Okay, Kai, we gonna stop knocking your vegan stuff." I'm like, "Yes, I be trying to tell y'all."
Talking junk about the lifestyle. Yeah, cool. How long have you been married?
I've been married for 1 year.
Wow. Yeah. So what's the key to a healthy marriage so far for your 1 year?
Key to a healthy marriage is communication, grace, effort, security, stability. Well, a lot of this kind of both of it. So I feel like a man should provide security, stability, affection, and communication to their wife to help them feel a certain way. And I feel like the wife a lot of times can provide communication, grace, love, confidence, and things of that nature to the husband to help. That's been a lot of things that have helped us. We're both me and my husband are lawyers, so our communication is very different in the sense that we're both long-winded because we're gonna get our points across, and so that's something that we've learned over this year. Like, okay, we can't lawyer each other right. Because our relationship with one another is very different than our work life or what we do on the outside, and so we've just been learning that we have to transition our styles and learn how to switch up the communication and not just assume that we're reading each other's emotions. We really have to speak those things out. And then as long as you know that your partner is not the enemy, even if you guys don't agree on what you're fighting about, most of the time you guys are fighting because you guys believe that what you're doing is in the best interest of that relationship. And so if you go into it knowing like, hey, this person is not my enemy, they're doing what they believe is in the best interest, then you can give them more grace and listen more than just respond when you're talking, essentially.
True. How do you go about what not to share in your relationship? Like a couple months back, I interviewed a couple, and they're a YouTube couple. So how do you go about not sharing too much, but sharing just enough so you're able to build an audience that like favors your relationship and wants to tune into your relationship?
As far as sharing with the public or family and friends? With public, okay, I would say that we're still learning. So we are pretty public in the sense that we have a business together. So we do post a lot of things for our business, or we're traveling a lot as far as like supporting one another in the individual endeavors that we do have. But as far as like our personal life, we don't really talk about that online. Per se, I do think that we give advice as far as if someone brings us a scenario and if we have something that is correlated, then we'll share those things. But we have definitely lived on the saying that privacy is our power, and privacy is our peace. And so we're very, very much make sure that we're in line with each other before we share personal matters. And especially when it comes to sharing things with your friends and family. Like for us as women, we usually tell our girlfriends or our women friends, our family members, a lot about our life, but you have to understand that say that you're getting into an argument with your spouse and you go tell your family member or your friend, they're not going to automatically or forgive your partner just because you did. These things might be lingering, or it might turn into gossip, and you're only giving them your side of the story. So it really is gossip because you're only giving them your side. You're not allowing your partner to say their side. So you're creating this skewed vision of your partner to your family and friends. And so that's not fair to your partner either. And so I don't discuss personal matters with my friends or family. If I really feel like I need to vent to someone, I mean, I actually haven't really had that moment yet, and I'm still early in where I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to tell somebody. You know, it hasn't happened yet. I've been able to just talk through it with him. But I feel like if there was ever a moment where I feel like, okay, I can't hold this in anymore, or the surface level things that I do talk to my friends about, I need to go deeper, then I think that we would seek counsel, you know, whether from like our mentors or we definitely support people with marriage counseling and things like that. But I do feel like people should tread lightly with talking about what's going on in your house, outside of your house, if it's going to be a detriment. You know, I'm all about transparency and using examples to learn, but you also have to protect that people can speak against you. People will use those things. They might pray against you guys, and you always have to protect your marriage because there is a war on marriages. And so you have to be even overly protective than you may have been in the past. And so I really try to encourage those things to my friends that are married or other people that I encounter that are married.
I absolutely agree with that, especially in the Black community, building like that marriage and family and keeping the household strong and together. I completely agree with you on that one.
Definitely.
That brings me into your book. You're an author as well.
Yes, I am.
So your book is called A Balanced Life, The Journey to Wholeness.
Yes.
Let's get into that. How did you start with your book?
Okay, so I have two books, and one is called Health Justice, the health disparities in the Black community, and that was my very first book. So I started my vegan journey, my end of my 1L, beginning my 2L year of law school, and that's when I started doing a deeper dive into health law, food law in general. Like I was just like, let me make my life make sense. I'm not gonna go do research on what I'm eating, but then be trying to learn like, I don't know, family law or something. I don't know, just like a random law. So I'm like, right now, let me just focus on food and environmental law. So I started doing research on that and started getting internships in that area because I thought it was super interesting. And so literally there's cases on what people could feed us as Black people, whether it was portions, whether it was using food to manipulate us or enslave us, things like that. It gets really deep into why we have such an attachment for food. So I was like, I need to write about this because there's always all these conversations about reparations in our community, but none of the legal suits have stuck. So I wrote a book about the legal constitutional argument that we can have for reparations in the healthcare community. And I used that as my legal research paper for law school. And then after I transitioned it into a book. So that was the first book that I wrote. And so after that, I kind of was still in that mode, like, okay, like how do I incorporate this new health lifestyle into me? And like, what does God say about this? Like, I've done all the research about what the law says about it. Like, I need to know what God wants me to do because it's a journey of staying disciplined. Like, you can go vegan, but to stay vegan, you gotta be disciplined. So For me, when it comes to spirituality, that's something that I have found is a higher discipline for me. Like I can be a little lackadaisical in other areas, but I know sometimes my spirituality I found is a higher place of discipline. So I'm like, how do I correlate the food with my spirituality? So I started just doing research, reading the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel talks a lot about what God tells us to eat and the difference between the world food, the king's food, and what godly food is, and like how to keep our body strong and things like that. So I started reading different chapters in the Bible, as well as other spiritual books, such as like the Holy Tablet and things of that nature, to see what God says about what we should put into our body and what that does to our mind and our spirit as well. And so that book is all about how to go from like brokenness to wholeness in the capacity of what you're putting inside of yourself, and how much that has an effect on our mental health, how we react and things of that nature, how we're holding up our temple. And so that was a spiritual journey for me. I was in Virgin Islands for a clerkship, and so I was really like secluded from the regular life of this mainland, and you don't like there's not really many phone services there or power and things like that. So I was really able to get into a peaceful space where I could really just focus on what I believe without having the outside noise, and come out with that book. And so I'm super proud of that. And that's the main book I've been pushing, though, because, you know, sometimes it's hard for people to read like legal jargon books. So I wanted to make something that I felt like my friends and family would be able to use on an everyday basis to make their lives healthier.
Good. And you went to Texas Southern University?
Yes, Thurgood Marshall School of Law.
And this is a HBCU, correct?
Yes, this is a HBCU law school. Mm-hmm.
How do you feel being at an HBCU? How has it enhanced your college experience?
It definitely shaped the woman that I am. So I have a experience of both. When I first went to undergrad, I went to the University of Wisconsin for one semester. And while there, I just realized, you know, before I even went there, like I was thinking about HBCU. So I like really want to go to HBCU, but when it's time for college, I'm like I'm nervous, like I don't want to leave. And then, you know, you have your family and friends saying, no, just go to the college right here, you come back home, you know, whatever, blah blah. So I'm like, all right. So I went to there, but that first semester I was not feeling, I just couldn't get jiggy with it no more. Something just kept wanting me to be around my people, because I grew up in Janesville, Wisconsin. It's predominantly white, and I was just kind of over not being able to fully be myself. Most of my family lives in Mississippi, so my mom would drive us there all the time. So I was being exposed to more Black people, and so every time I would go to Mississippi, I would have the time of my life, and then I would come back and I would have to like switch up. So I was just like, you know, I can't take this anymore. So I applied for a couple different HBCUs, but TSU was one of the main ones because I wanted somewhere that was close to Mississippi where I could just drive to my folks if I needed to. I ended up going to TSU, Tennessee State University, for undergrad. And so that was my first HBCU experience. Loved it. One thing that I say about HBCUs, it not only just teaches you the education, but it teaches you how to live after. So whether it was me like when I'm in SGA, or so I was in the student government. So I'm literally learning how to plan events, apply for grants, you know, organize, speak on behalf. So when I'm out of school, I've already done this. I'm meeting people that have never put on an event before, don't know how to speak and advocate on a specific policy or things like that. You know, I'm a AKA, so when I was joining Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, like literally just being exposed to women of higher learning and excellence that have these prestigious careers. I was getting exposed to that on a regular basis. All of these people at school have their own businesses. I never saw that before. And so it wasn't just around like, oh, we go to class and we go home. We were literally building a community, learning how to run businesses, learning how to plan events, and just having that family feel like everyone just treated you like family. So that was an amazing experience for me. And so I got into this program. It was an HBCU fellowship where they took the top 20 HBCU students to Columbia University on a full ride to get a master's. And so I got into that program and moved to New York straight after undergrad. And so I'm at this Ivy League school. I'm super excited. And then I get there and it is not what I thought it was going to be, you know? Like, it was amazing to get those amenities, and just like, you know, people made me feel like, oh, you have to have like a Ivy League or a PWI on your resume to get these higher jobs and things like that. And so I'm kind of like in that mindset thinking that I need all of those. But once I got there, I realized that I was like a number. You know, I'm in these big classes. It's not like the professors are getting to know you one-on-one, because I'm coming from a setting where there was like 30 of us in a class to a setting where there's like 60 to 100, you know. And then also, there are not as many Black organizations on the campus. So it was definitely a major adjustment. I had a great time there, but I just saw that, hey, okay, this isn't as family oriented as I'm used to. And I realized that I needed that environment to grow and for me to be stable in everything else I was doing. So I always knew that I was going to go to law school. So when it was time, I only applied for HBCU law schools because of that experience. I was like, you know what? I know law school is hard. I know it's expensive. I need to be with people that understand that, that want that family feel they're going to take care of you. And that's exactly what I got. As soon as I got to Thurgood Marshall, everyone was willing to help. The AKAs, like my first year of law school, I didn't pay for any books. All the sorors got books for me, like helped me with outlines, did everything they needed to do to make sure that I was straight, right off grip that first week. And it was exactly what I needed. And moving forward from there, alumni just come in and they pour, because there's only 5% of Black lawyers. And so we have to do that. And it's not like a competition environment how other law schools are. And it was amazing for me. You know, everyone has like a different what makes them grow or what is a conducive learning environment for them. But I knew from those experiences that I needed to be at a HBCU.
Can you explain to us your experience being a Black woman in law? Like, as you described the sisterhood helping you out and everything, which is amazing. I love that. I love to hear that. How has your experience been being a lower number in law?
Yes, I would say that Thurgood Marshall spoiled me, because I almost forgot that there are not that many of us. So I came into the law practice thinking like, okay, like I don't know why I forgot that there was not that many of us when I walked into my first setting. And so I went to the first conference like straight out of law school, and I was the only Black person there. And I was so shocked because I don't know, I guess because I have been around so many Black lawyers, I forgot that that's not normal life. So I was very shocked to see that a lot of the time, like, we are the only person in the room. And I would say you have to be confident in this game, because one, you're already dealing with a lot of intelligent people. And so sometimes I've had experience where I am encountering a white man, and there is that white man complex sometimes where maybe they don't know or not that they kind of speak down to you, whether it's just women in general or it's Black women. You know, I'm not saying it's just for Black women, maybe it's what they do to everyone else, but there's that complex that happens a lot in our profession, especially because it's filled with mainly white men. A lot of the judges are white men. A lot of the higher corporate lawyers or higher paid defense criminal attorneys are white men. And so encountering these people, I've definitely had to be overly confident in the sense of just like, are you just saying this because you want control, or is this the best solution? Type of ordeal. So I've definitely come to them more with logic than emotions. Like, hey, okay, I'm a logical person, and this is the logical result. This isn't just like because this is a hierarchy of how you guys do things. I've definitely had to come in and do that. I've had scenarios where I've had to tell management or other people like, hey, like, this is, you're kind of saying a stereotypical saying, or things like that. Like, for example, just on a small scale, I did like a conference, and they were where they wanted to have like diversify this company or whatever. So we came in to help diversify things like that. So it was a group of other Black legal professions. And so they provided lunch for us every day. They provided lunch for everyone, but they were specifically doing that because we were there. And so one day they brought Popeyes as the food. And so I believe that they thought that they were doing something nice. But that was the most stereotypical thing that they could have did. It's like, even if you're gonna give people chicken, at least get them some gourmet, high fancy chicken from somewhere. Like, you know, went to Popeyes and brought us Popeyes, and then I'm vegan, so now I'm like, you didn't even bring me nothing to eat. So I didn't make a scene or anything in that moment. I talked to the others that I was there, like, hey, is it just me, or what? Were you offended by the food that was provided? And so everyone kind of felt like they were offended too, but they didn't want to rock the boat. So I was like, you know what? It's okay, y'all. I'm the oldest here. I don't care if they rock the boat and send me home. You're like, I could get another opportunity if they don't receive this well. So I basically just communicated to them like, hey, providing fried chicken for Black legal professions is almost insulting or disrespectful, in that you guys assume that we only eat unhealthy food. And then not only are you contributing to the health desert, the food desert in the Black community, where we already don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, you're giving us food that is causing diseases in our body. And I know that you may not have thought about it that way, but that is how we eat and how we perceive someone that's giving us something that's not good for us, essentially. And so, of course, they apologize and things like that. But I've had weird things like that happen. But you just have to communicate, because it may come from ill will, but I've learned that sometimes it may not come from ill will. And so if you don't communicate to that person, like, hey, this came off this way to me, this is how I felt when you did this, or this is how the perception is, then they may continue to do those things. And so I'm okay with rocking the boat and letting people know, like, hey, that's not okay with me in my book. It might be okay for someone else, but not when you're dealing with this one right here. So definitely I've had to do that, be confident in what I stand for.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely for rocking the boat, especially but having that level of being able to communicate, so you can come to that one agreement, like, hey, you might not have noticed this, but that's definitely important. Do you have advice for anyone that wants to get into the pageantry business?
You said, do I have any advice for someone wanting to get into the pageantry?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say my biggest advice for someone wanting to get into pageantry is to know your why. I really strongly encourage people to actually have a cause that they're fighting for. Pageantry isn't about just walking around looking pretty, taking pictures and being judged on that. It's actually about the impact that you're making, and the platform is just another way to bring awareness. So if you're coming into pageantry as a way just to dress up and doll up and go to events and have people like bow down to you, that's not the right reasons to get in. You need to come in saying, like, hey, this is a cause that I really want to bring awareness to, and this is how I believe that I can make an impact on the community. So that would be the first steps that I think someone should take. And then the next steps that I would say that someone should take is making sure that they do have a healthy and stable lifestyle. You are a role model for a lot of people, especially young girls who are a prone because of the way that TV and society is. People love a pageant girl for some reason, especially as a little girl, because they think princessy, you have a crown, things like that. And so you have a really big impact on how these young girls are going to be later, whether you're an artist or just an entertainer or famous in general. I know we're speaking about pageantry, but it can be applied to everywhere. You just have to be careful on how you put your image if you are in a public figure role. And so making sure that you're eating right, that you're promoting healthy lifestyles, working out, holding yourself in a classy manner, and whatever that means to you, because classy means different to a lot of different people. But as long as you're holding yourself in a manner that you would want your child to role model after, then I think that it would be okay. A lot of people don't even think about that. At least I did it when I first started pageantry. Like, oh, like, would my child do this as well? I think I was maybe using other images. But now I'm just like, okay, would my child be proud of this look that I had, or would my grandmother be proud of this look I had? Things like that, just being monitored of how you're presenting yourself, because people really do pay attention to what you're doing, and they use that as a reason to say it's okay to do or not do something. So as long as you have your cause of what you want to bring awareness to, have a healthy and stable lifestyle where your life should be a representation of what someone should duplicate, then I think those are the first foundational preparation that you should have for entering pageant life.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. We are coming to an end and a wrap up of the interview. But before I let you go, are there any other ways that myself especially, but the supporters and viewers as well, watching can support you?
Definitely. So, like I was telling you before, my cause is around health, food, and environmental justice. So, I have a nonprofit called Freedom of Faith Food Bank, and we do food distributions where we're giving out healthy foods to both homeless and low income communities. And so, that is like the main way that I believe that others can support, whether they're volunteering, whether they're donating, or whether they're just bringing awareness in general to the health and environmental disparities. I really encourage people to go look online about the effects of whether it's chemical pollution in urban and low income areas, whether it's a food desert and low income areas, because the information is right there for us about how urban areas, which is mainly where Black people live, is very polluted, and they don't have fresh foods. And so the chemicals that are in our food, the chemicals that we're breathing in, are having an effect on our mental health, which is in return resulting in behaviors that may not be something that we would do normally if we didn't have those chemical things happening in our mind. And whether we're just eating diseases because of these foods that cause cancer, diabetes, and all those things. I just encourage people to follow the content so that you can really see how you can take your family to the next level and be able to create legacy. Because if you don't have a healthy body or a healthy mind, then you really can't even enter into the entrepreneurship, the financial stability, all of that, if you don't even have your mind together. And so if people could follow the page, donate in that capacity, and we can help other families, because I know I'm talking about eating healthy, but someone is in survival mode. They can't pay their rent, or they don't have nowhere to live, so they're not even thinking about trying to get fruits and vegetables. So what we do is we come in and we supplement that so that people can think about other things. And what makes us different is that we're not giving people the lowest of the lowest quality. A lot of times the food distributions, they have good intentions, but they're giving people ramen noodles and Vienna sausages and things like that. But that's not what's going to help us. So we're giving fruits and vegetables, whether we're giving like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or things like that, waters, sea moss. Like, we're giving people what we eat every day because we want them to transform their minds. So that's the main way that people can support. And then, of course, pageantries have sponsorships. So whether you want to sponsor my business or sponsor my title in the capacity of paying for an event, or hair sponsor, makeup sponsor, dress sponsors, things like that, your business can be put in the ads for our pageant. And we're international. So we have Ghana, Bali, India, we have all the countries in there. And so your business will be put on to a wider platform by just partnering with us in that capacity. So those are the main two ways that people could definitely support the endeavors that I'm doing right now.
Nice. And shout out the website for me.
Yes. You can go to dr.kyaraamurry.com, or you can go to my Instagram at Dr. Kai Ofuani, Ofuani, and you can click on my link tree and it'll take you right there.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I definitely do want to volunteer, so I'll message you about that a little later. Okay. But I'm going to edit our interview, and it'll be on the YouTube channel as well. But I appreciate you for reaching out to me, getting to know you and your story. Honestly, I could talk to you for hours.
Yes.
But for the I'm going to go ahead and cut it short right here. But I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've had a great time speaking with you. I love your platform, and I appreciate you having a hub for the Black community to speak on their platforms and just take us to the next level. So keep up the work that you're doing as well.
Thank you. You have a great night.
You too.
All right, y'all. That is a wrap up of our interview, More Than a Creator. Oh, wow. We learned so much tonight, and I just love the energy and vibe that's going on, y'all. Like I said, if you're just now hopping on, I'm sorry you missed it, but no worries. You can log on to our YouTube channel and watch the interview from there. It'll be posted most likely next week sometime. But of course, always follow at More Than a Model Workshop to make sure that you stay up to date with what's going on with the posts. Y'all tap in, make sure you purchase her books, support her business. She is actually here in Atlanta as well, y'all. So that's all for tonight. Thank y'all so much for hopping on. Summer's only one season, but stick with me where it's summer year round. I'll see y'all for the next episode.